much stuff. But thank you for being with us. I greatly appreciate it, and for having both offices together. And I see a lot of names I recognize. There's a lot of talent in the room, and that is for certain. One of our two differentiators at Douglas Elliman. One is the size of Douglas Elliman, the company, and the other one is the level. Come on in, young lady. The level of talent that we have. So we in the Babylon office. We run 2 meetings a month, right? So generally the second and the fourth Tuesday of the month. First one of the month is Josh Worley pontificating about what's happening in the real estate market. And then the second one, come on in, young lady. No, perfectly fine. The second one, generally, we bring in folks that are at the top of their game across all different parts of all different parts of the real estate industry. Yeah, thank you. So we're going to cover a little bit. We start with office activity. We're going to jump into a little bit about the NAR settlement. What? Did everybody hear about that one? It's news to everybody. And we'll go into a little bit of coaching. And I'm going to leave you with a little video from Tom Ferry. So I don't know if you guys know, but I'm a Tom Ferry coaching customer. So I get my butt kicked every Thursday at 5 o'clock, and then I try to bring all those things back to you so we can stay at the forefront of what's happening in the industry. So I'm going to start with East Islip Across. Perfectly fine. Just listed since April 1st and not sold. So congratulations to Irene, Patty, and then Annette Mina really stepped in it. So congratulations from her. She did a really good job. That was one customer, it was a corporation, and she was up against like 6 people, and she nailed it. Congratulations. So I say success is preparation meeting opportunity, right? So she was prepared, she was presented with an opportunity, and she locked it in. There is one that's in Riverhead, so that means Annette and I have to fight in the street, right? That's my town. All right, so pending April 1st, the end of the month. Congratulations to everybody's on here. I do highlight our direct deals. Hell of a month for my Irene Seconolfi. Jesus Christmas. And Patty Varales did really well as well. And then closed. So congratulations to Annette, who went double direct. Woo woo! We always like to see those pieces. Here's my Babylon listed since 4/1/2024 and not sold, right? So these are things that came on the market, have yet to find a buyer within the last 30 days. What I really love to see here is there's a lot of different names on here, and I'm really, really proud. So I think this is one thing when they do look at it, the higher ups analyze our numbers here. They say we have a lot of folks that are heavy on the listing side, which is where we're gonna just need to be, right? But that means we have good fundamentals here. So we're gonna take those same fundamentals and inject them into East Islip. Pending since 4/1/2024, congratulations to Sue Lombardi. Ding on that one, that was a fantastic deal right there. Closed April 1 to April 30th. Again, Susan Lombardi closed a bunch of good stuff. Joanne Betcher, fantastic job. And that came all the way from the top. You really came guns blazing fourth quarter last year and had a phenomenal first quarter. I don't know how you do it. I say she has a twin that she hasn't let us know, right? Because she seems to be more than one place at one time, but operating that long.
She's sitting here.
That's right. Exactly. Right. That's why I say Matt Corman is my twin, right? You guys let me have it. Thank you for your grace. I appreciate it. So our honorable mentions, congratulations to Irene Seconolfi, Susan Lombardi, Beth Lowe. Just phenomenal months across the board. So congratulations, everybody. So now we're gonna go right into the dirt, right? So NAR Settlement. So one big, as everybody saw, well, I hope you did, from the office of the chairman. So Douglas Elliman settled the NAR suit, which I'm happy to get a little bit of closure and kind of like move past that piece. I had to give credit to, Howard hired the same attorneys that represented, he also owns, what's that? Vector Group, which is heavy tobacco. So like 15 years ago, that was the tobacco industry's turn. Everybody was hammering away on there, like, you never told us that breathing fire into my lungs would be bad. So he hired some attorneys to support them in that class action suit. They did well. And he goes, well, I'd be stupid if it worked once, it'll work twice, and he did, and he hired those same superstars to represent Douglas Elliman during this, and I gotta say, he did a really good job. So he gave a guaranteed payout of $7.5 million. Just come on right up. My breath is decent, so you can come on in, get a little bit closer. So $7.5 million payout. He did a really good job, and he negotiated 2 kicker payments down the road, I think next year and the following year, subject to there being a certain amount of cash on hand in the business. So that was a brilliant job of kicking the can right after Berkshire Hathaway paid $250 million. I think we did pretty good. So congratulations. So what does that really mean? So that means we have agreed to adjust some of our business practices. We obviously didn't, we did not say that we colluded or took advantage of people or any of that good stuff. We were just like, all right, enough of this. We'll give you your protection money and let's just move on.
Who actually gets that money?
I think every homeowner during a certain period of time is going to get a check for like 8 cents. I think that's how that's going to go. Well,
I was curious to how it's dispersed.
The attorneys get like 50%, the top 50, and then the bottom half gets. So I might get a check for 8 cents because I bought a home during that time. Who knows? But I don't really know all that good stuff. But what that does mean.
So we're guilty? Like by paying that, doesn't it say like?
No, it said, so we said like, hey, like we didn't take advantage of anybody. Like we're not admitting that, we're not going to, but we want to just end this, right? Because we had 2 choices, and Howard did say like, I'm going to fight this thing tooth and nail.
Hush money.
I call it for like protection money, right? Like for the mob, like, all right, leave me alone. I'll give you $7.5 million. You leave me alone, right? That's pretty much what happened. So it's a settlement, right? Because there is, we could go on and on and on and pay and pay and pay and dig in, but shocker, great attorneys, they're expensive. So we made a really good choice. Like being up at the top, just between you and me, they had kind of earmarked like $100 million for this settlement. So they were starting to collect cash on hand to pay it, and that was like their prediction. So just said, like, that's pretty good.
It's less than the real had to pay, and they weren't even in business during the time.
You've got,
So
like,
I think it's a huge win.
I was really impressed. And then I think Redfin this morning I saw $9.5 million they're going to pay. So we did pretty good. So overall, we might pay $17.5 million. Still a hell of a lot better than $100 million, and the company still has like $100 million in cash on hand. Like we're fine. We just move past that, and now we start managing this stuff really on a local level, trying to figure out what the hell is going on. So I will, I don't sugarcoat anything, and I share probably to a fault, but I was a little bent, and I was getting a little jammed up at the company, wanting them to tell me how this is all going to go. And I'm like, can we just create an MFN policy already? And I think if you see him, thank Chris Bacchus. So it wasn't until I spoke with Chris Bacchus, and I was like I was bitching, right? And I was like, Chris, I just want, and he was like, hey brother, we can't create a policy because we don't really know what's happening on a local level. So one of the parts of this settlement was that we cannot use a centralized platform to share compensation, which is the MLS, right? So jump in at any point.
Association-owned MLSs, which is a key
word. Term. It gets real deep into the weeds, but yes, so you can't use an association-owned MLS. So they were, what the settlement, like what these attorneys purported, and they did a really good job with, was saying that the MLS and its rules, because the rule was, if you want to come on the MLS, you have to offer buyer side compensation to a cooperating agent. Let me say that, right? Compensation to a cooperating agent. So the attorneys argued that was antitrust, right? They go, well, what do you mean? That's like collusion and all that. And then he argued brilliantly that kept commissions high. And we had a jury of 14 people. So like whenever we say, like I hear a lot, but I have a listing agreement, I'm protected. I have a contract, I'm protected. Yes and no. So a contract or a listing agreement is just an agreement between 2 parties. So that if things go bad, we have a baseline understanding from which we can sue each other. And suing each other is the only vehicle for exercising really a contract here. So all in, so the attorney said, yes, that is collusion, can't do it. So that's one of the things, is Douglas Elliman has agreed to adopt our business practices in alignment with that settlement to say, okay, we will not use an association-owned listing service to share compensation. It does not, so that's one key. We use one key. One key hasn't made a determination on what we're gonna do. They haven't figured it all out yet. There's not, without going down the rabbit hole, because even I had to back Chris up. I'm like, explain this to me. And I was like, explain it to me like I'm a 15-year-old. Explain it to me like I'm an 8-year-old. Like he had to keep going back again to get it through my head, so I'm not gonna put everybody to sleep with it. But, so one key, to whom we belong, hasn't really decided how they're gonna handle compensation. So we can't create a policy or start really instructing too much until we understand how one key is gonna handle it, how our listing, like our exclusive right to represent, is gonna change, right? All these forms are really gonna change. So we won't know which route we're gonna go until they figure that out. That's gonna happen like sometime in June, right? So we can't create, do I hear somebody's phone? If your phone rings, you have to answer it on speakerphone. Okay. So DE cannot create a final policy until one key makes a determination. So for now, what that means, nothing changes as of right now. We're still full fee, full service broker with commingled account. Still using those same forms. Nothing has changed. Like nothing has changed. So I think even like August, we have to make our determination by, then September, we have to implement.
They switched it back to August. It has to be implemented.
Okay, great. So that's the thing. It's changing as fast as we can kind of wrap our heads around it. But Greg asked me for this. Paul had a question on it as well. And I really thought to give you some like kind of talking points. So take this and turn it, this is Josh language. So turn it into however, the Jen always goes, can you tell me how to do this? Yeah. And then she changes everything, but she gets the gist. So this is how I explain it. Like when people ask me, I said, well, the genesis of the NAR lawsuit is really like, it's two-pronged. First, the requirement to offer compensation to cooperating agents as a requirement to be featured on an MLS system was challenged. And secondly, the manner and amount paid to cooperating agents being set by the seller was duly challenged. That's really what they challenge. They go, this is a pay-for-play scheme, right? And then because the buyer side compensation was set between the seller and the listing agent without any input from a buyer agent, it artificially inflated commissions. That was what they said. And there was 14 people on that jury. Sorry, because I had ADD before. That's, whenever we sue each other, we are at the mercy of a jury. And those folks on that jury were like, yes. So I tried to say this. For somebody that makes $20 an hour in wherever, Missouri, explain to me how you can sell one house and make $75,000 and that's not usury. You follow what I'm saying? Like that's where we were trying to collapse that and they go, that's crazy. That's more money than I make in 2 years. Yeah, guilty. That's what happened. So the result of this case, thus far is really just a more open and in-depth conversation around compensation and representation. But still, the basic laws of human nature and economics still apply, albeit the mechanisms by which we incentivize and reward great cooperation from fellow agents and their customers has changed. Who, regardless of the NAR settlement, by raise a hand, who likes to get paid when they work? Okay, right. So who likes to get paid more for the work they do? That's, you see, like, so that didn't change, right? So it still makes sense that we incentivize well for the best agents to bring their buyers to our property over somebody else's, right? So that didn't change. We still do that now. We just do it on the MLS. The mechanism for it's going to change. We don't know exactly what that looks like yet. Stay tuned for 50 different changes, but for the here and now, we don't. 5%, 3 in, 2 out. Sound fair? That's my whole conversation.
When you say change, would that be like a federal, state? I mean, at what level is this going to change? Is anyone going to have their own way of doing it?
Yeah, to a certain extent, right? Like we don't. Yes,
Yeah.
there's a lot
of different moving parts.
So the DOJ,
right
which, as I said, we get in the weeds really fast. yeah, there's gonna be like a federal ruling, and then on a local level, we're gonna have to conform to the federal level, and then we're gonna work it out however we do on a local level, right? Just like we do now. Like there's some states where there is no dual agency, right? Like you only have like Florida, right? Funky like that, right? Like that
And they
happens.
don't put a listing expiration date on their paperwork.
It's in perpetuity.
In Florida?
So you don't
No,
know.
you have a listing, but
It's not
you
out,
do
though.
have. an
Oh, they don't
expiration
share
date.
it.
It's
Ah.
not shared.
Okay, because yeah, basically,
Not shared.
good point. Yeah, because basics of a contract has to have a beginning and an end date to be a
Oh, it
contract,
does.
right?
Right.
That's right.
But you don't.
But anyway, so I'm gonna send all this stuff out. My invitation to you, if you don't want to sound like robot Josh, internalize this dialogue and then turn it into your own language. But that's really what happened. Is like, hey, look, they just said you can't charge to get on the MLS, and then the way that we share that compensation is really going to change. But offering out compensation still makes sense. Nowhere in there did they say you have to charge less. Okay, we can't.
And nowhere do they say you can't offer out compensation?
So
Is that what
far.
you're saying?
So far,
Okay,
yes.
so
Yeah.
really nothing changes.
Correct.
Except we're not gonna know what we're getting paid until we call the listing agent. if
That
we're
is correct.
representing
Oh,
buyers.
it
So call
won't be
them first
out on
before you show
the.
it.
Yeah, so I'm gonna kind
It
of,
won't be
Oh,
physically on the
Okay,
MLS.
let me just hear, so,
So there won't be like the box on the MLS, so
okay,
you,
so you call the agent and you ask what is being offered
Yep.
out?
yeah.
are you co-broken? How much? Right, like back in the old
But what are
days,
you
right?
just taking their word for it? They could, like.
So,
No,
No,
there, I mean, there will be more forms.
yeah,
that
there'll be
we
like a
have-
co-broke
yeah.
agreement and all that,
Okay,
yeah.
all
They-
that,
Yeah.
to
they
put
serve
it
it to-
through.
Do they have the right to say, no, we're not co-broken?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
No, no,
cooperation
but
is not an
Doesn't mean
offer.
you can't show it, it just
Right.
means that you have to
You have to
put
get paid from your buyer.
commission on your end.
That's right.
You determine how
Yep.
much the buyer is going to pay you.
Well, it has to actually be predetermined with the buyer contract.
That is correct.
Well,
So,
exactly.
Right.
Your buyer
So-
contract.
my invitation is try not to get too far into the weeds because we don't,
Yeah.
you
Just
can't
keep
plan
doing
yet.
everything that you're doing.
Yeah, that's the thing. You can't plan yet because we don't know what the rules of the game are, right? Like we
Right.
got to get, one key has to open up
Yeah.
the top of the box so we can read the rules and then figure out how we're going to implement
And
those
then-
big things.
New York State MLS is still gonna have the box because it's not owned by an association.
So it appears.
There's a lot of
moving
stuff
pieces.
happening.
There's a lot of moving pieces. So either way, so what's going to happen to like how we do business? And so big thing, I'll give you my coach's 2 cents on it. And he was like, really, Josh? Like after I beat it up for a month to wrap my head around it, he goes, we're pushing the same pennies around the board, right? That's it. We're just taking the same amount of money, we're moving it around, and we're calling it different stuff. Don't freak out. Oh, okay, right? Now, for the buyer side, for those of us that work with buyers, there's just going to be a little bit of a change to the kind of deal stream or the, I would call it swim lanes, as we say. You're going to do basically 2 distinct swim lanes, and that's going to be dependent on how you want to operate your business right now. Whatever. I would say contingent upon what the company policy is. But what the settlement did say, there must be a written agreement between the buyer and the agent. That's it. That's what it says. Just there must be an agreement, right? So some folks are going to talk to, hi, Mr. or Mrs. Buyer. Yep, that's my property at 123 French Street. Let's get together and we'll talk about the buyer process. So remember, we used to do buyer consultations, like good old school sit downs. So some folks are going to go that realm. I think more agents are going to go this realm. Like let's say a Zillow lead comes in. Tough to get a Zillow lead, like I want to see this property, to go, sure, let's get together. It'll take 90 minutes. And they're like, nope, I just want to get in the door, hang up on you, right? So we have to create some little piece in the middle that allows us to satisfy this, touring agreement. Satisfy the requirement to have an agreement between the parties, right? So some folks will go buyer presentation, buyer agreement, show property. Some folks are going to go, sure, I'll meet you there. Before we go in, agency disclosure, New York State Fair Housing disclosure, some sort of agreement that is yet to be published. We do have the buyer broker, right? And you can take your buyer broker agreement and do it for one day, one property, perfectly fine. It's however you want to however you want to handle that conversation. So you can take buyer broker for one property for one day, and the compensation can match that which is being offered out on based on your phone call first. Make sense? So you can go, hey, here's the agency disclosure, I'm working for you. Here's my fair housing, here's how to sue me if I discriminate, right? That's how I do it. I circle it and go, hey, sue me here, right? It's a guillotine close. So if I tell you how to sue me, you know I'm not gonna, right? I'm not gonna do it. Here's who I represent, here's how to sue me. Here, the new Department of State requires that we have a written agreement between us before we go and show this property. I've taken this buyer broker agreement. It is 24 hours in duration. It only belongs to this property. There is compensation laid out here. That compensation matches the co-broke agreement that I have in my hand. So you wouldn't be responsible for coming out of pocket. Do you want to go in now? Whoa, whoa. Right? But that's pretty much it. That's what's going to happen. And we're going to, like, I'm not getting too deep into it because we don't know exactly how that's going to go in the form, right? But this is what most folks are going to do. Like, what do you do now? If you're doing the right thing, we all do it, right? And at first substantive contact, we give the New York State agency disclosure. So we go on the hood of our, right? Yeah, right. We go on the hood of our car and we go, here you go, check this box. I don't really know what all this stuff means. And then we go in the house, right? So 95% of us are going to just do that. And we're
It's
going to,
kind of like slipping the COVID thing in, isn't it?
kind of.
Disclosure, did you get a shot? Are you okay?
Remember that?
And they're signing, they have no idea what the heck they're signing.
Exactly, right?
I mean, you say it, but.
Right,
they
like,
don't know.
have you had a temperature like
Yeah,
crazy?
this is-
Yeah, so
But
all
this one, we're
in,
gonna have to be a little bit more in depth,
Well, the
right?
touring agreement doesn't cost.
okay, so here's what,
buyer
you know,
broker costs.
I don't like, it's like, don't say their name 3 times fast because they show up. Zillow is like Voldemort. But the one thing, and I don't know if this is going to be, okay, would you just take one and pass it around, do you mind?
Touring agreement.
It's a touring agreement. So Zillow, because they're super altruistic and they really care about the consumer, they're really trying to make sure they stay involved. So it says one condition of the NAR settlement will soon require buyers to sign a written agreement before you tour. While that may seem like an extra step for the consumer, this kind of agreement adds transparency, promotes open conversation, and set proper expectations with your clients. Buyer agreements typically lay out exactly what the agent will do for a client. However, requiring an exclusive agreement up front before the buyer feels comfortable can negatively impact the consumer experience, right? It's like, hey, I'm Josh, want to get married? Like, it's weird. I did that once, it didn't work out, right? So to put it simply, most people want to date before becoming exclusive, right? You gotta like earn their trust. So that 1-day agreement kind of fills that gap. It covers the requirement. And then this Zillow touring agreement says there's no fee for the touring services. It is absent the conversation of commission. It's being reviewed. There are some states have already said no. They go, this doesn't satisfy. And then there's even some concerns that we have to bump it against our insurance policy to make sure that touring activities are covered under E&O. So a lot of big stuff. So that's what I'm saying. It's
So like,
changed.
how would this protect you as the agent?
It does not.
Right, so why would I wanna use this form
Well-
and show somebody houses on a Saturday in July when I should be at the beach working on my tan, and then I find out that they bought a house and they're not gonna pay me? Like, I would not wanna use this form.
Crazy enough, I've been doing it for 10 years. I've signed 2 buyer brokers in my whole career.
Well, I only work with buyers that are like referrals to me,
Right.
so I wouldn't.
That's what I'm saying.
I wouldn't be doing this.
Well, so you would go right into your buyer broker. I think, folks, this is my 2 cents. 5 years or above will be, if you've been in the business more than 5 years, I think most will go right into the buyer broker. Because remember, pre-clear cooperation, like when I worked for good old Tom McCarthy, we would always syndicate out our office exclusives. And so I had it, right? That's how I met Christy Nadell. She would go, Josh, can I see your property? Are you offering out compensation? I go, Christy, this is an office exclusive. I'm happy to cooperate, but I'm not offering any compensation. You would need to have that in a separate agreement with your buyer before you show. Would you like to show? Right? Like, and she would go, fine. And she'd get the buyer broker, she'd show up and sell it, right? So she'll be like, she may not need this, but if you're not 100% with going into that whole entire diatribe, I'm long-winded, ask Jen. I'm happy to talk about real estate for hours. This might be a nice way to kind of bridge the gap, where you go like, hey, there's no compensation here. This just satisfies a right that we have an agreement between the two of us. So either way, but you're right. So, question.
Where's this agreement from? Is this a Zillow thing?
Zillow made that. And
Okay, you're giving us this because Zillow made it, but we've not gotten to like what the actual.
That's right. So
Okay.
I'm just like, it was a game changer for me in my head. All right. So I've been wrestling with this whole part. So like I share a lot. I know we talked about having the zeros in the buyer broker for a long time, and I was like, guys, it's not a big deal, right? But I distinctly remember the first time I saw it in 11901 zip code, and my stomach went. I was like, bitch. Like I didn't even have anybody for that listing, but I was like, damn it, they're here, right? Like they're like. So I said, okay, and why am I having this churning feeling in my belly? I was having that churning feeling in my belly because at that moment, I was confronted with my own relationship to my own self-worth, my own skill set, and my relationship to money, which having a buyer-broker agreement signed, when you go into that appointment, that buyer-broker consultation, that's what you're doing. It's kind of the same as a listing presentation, but I've been on so many of those, like, I don't care. Like, I got that cold. But I've never had to do it on the buy side. Like, but now we're going to have to do something. So the only reason I brought this up was this takes the money part out of it. So if that helps you bridge that gap, so be it. And we're allowed to use it. I just thought that was the first, in my opinion, smart thing that Zillow did in a long time. Although it is 100% a ploy to keep their Zillow preferred agent portion of their business alive. Because as soon as this whole thing shook out, I looked at Brian John and I go, Zillow is effed. Because I go, who the hell is going to pay $700 for a low conversion lead, and now you got to slip in a buyer broker in there? GFL, right? Like at a 3% conversion rate for a good agent, you're going to go down to like half of one. Zillow's done. I'm
Where are
sorry.
you getting paid then if you use this, for example?
You are not. Okay, so read that little part, right?
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
why I'm asking
It's
it.
just like to form a relationship.
That's
with
it.
them, and then you go on to the buyer
But
broker.
what if they love the house that you just showed them?
Great. Then you go right into your buyer broker. You go right into that. Perfect. Before we put in an offer, we have to talk about
So
compensation.
then
Okay,
what
we
should
have
you
another add on the buyer agreement. If the seller is paying a buyer's agent,
If.
we'll be accepting that on your behalf. However, we can add your percent into what your offer is.
Yes.
Wouldn't that sound better?
I think so. I like that, right? Remember, I go back as part of my buyer presentation, and we'll kind of talk about, I'm going to hand these out. So I've been working on this bad boy for like,
I think I have 2 copies of it
shit.
at
But-
different levels.
But this was from my coach, who you'll see in here when you get the slides. There's a link. So like 2 weeks ago, he had to go to a summit for the coaches, and Tom he did the same thing he yells at me about. He yelled to the other coaches about, and Tom Ferry was like, "That sounds great." And unbeknownst to my coach, the next morning he's like bebopping into the building. They're like, "By the way, you got to go upstairs. You're going to do a one-on-one with Tom Ferry right now and record it." He was like, eh. But he did a really, really good job. Talked about the same things, and this came from my coach, because like when it first came down, I said, Paul Sanford, how the hell am I going to get my people through it? What am I going to do for my people? I'm like, I'm not going to lie. I know these are recorded, so you can use it against me, but I'm a little scared. And he was like, easy breezy, broski. He goes, tell me about your listing presentation. How good is it? I'm like, I think I'm an 8.5 out of 10. If I shortened it, I might get a 10 out of 10. But so he goes, how is your buyer presentation? Is your buyer presentation worth 15 grand? I go, nope, because I show up, I go to the house, and then I deliver value over time. But I didn't have basically, this is a listing presentation for buyers. So what is a listing? A listing is a contract. That's what it is. Brian Jada told me, he's like, what's a listing? I'm like, right to sell a house. He goes, no, dumbass, it's a contract. And there's 2 of them. Boom. All right, so when I started digging into this, I found a training video that talked about the 3 agreements of real estate. And I was like, wow, this one really spoke to me. And he was talking about it, and he said, like down here, I might change this word because it says the consummation of any real estate transaction, right? Something requires 3 agreements be in place. So we go to the buyer seller. Part of my presentation, it's in here, and goes, hey guys, before we get into like the nitty gritty stuff, I just wanted, there's a concept of the 3 agreements of real estate. Has anybody ever explained that to you? No? Cool. All right, so in order to like get across the finish line in the real estate world, there's 3 agreements that need to be in place. 1 between a seller and their agent, 2 between a buyer and their agent, and then the 2 attorneys have to agree. Like we take this agreement plus this agreement, sends it over to the attorneys, they nerd out, they figure it all out, everybody signs, then we can start to close, right? So in this, we're gonna talk about the agreement between the 2 of us. Sound good? Like, that makes a lot of sense in my head, right? I'm like, okay, got it. I just never did this one and I felt weird about it. But just change is never comfortable. But fast forward a year from now. So why do we hate buyers? Tell me, just shout it out. Why do we not like buyers are liars, right? What is that? What's the other one? Why do we hate buyers? Say again?
They could be time wasters.
They could be time wasters. What else?
No loyalty.
Loyalty.
Fast forward a year from now, where all the buyers in this transitionary period have bought, and the new buyers are coming into the system, and they have no frame of reference. This is just the way it's done. Now I have loyalty, I have transparency, I have clear expectations, and for the good agents who make super sweet Canva things like this, you can earn more money. I can tell them, hey, there's 3 ways an agent can get paid. You can pay me direct, cut a check to Josh Wally. No, I'm sorry. You can pay me direct. The seller can pay me. Sometimes it can be a combination of both. Generally, your concern is, especially on the North Fork, where your closing costs are 5% of the purchase price. 5%. They go, now I got to pay you another 2.5 or 3. I go, well, not necessarily, but I can roll it into the deal. So will you come out of pocket for an additional 2.5 or 3%? Not unless you want to. I'm pretty good looking. We might work it out that way, but you will not be obligated to. So before we enter into any agreement, I'm going to tell you where all that money is sliding around the table. Does that sound fair? Cool. Exactly. Bang. Right? So one part, when I said I was confronted about getting somebody to sign a buyer or broker agreement, was because I wasn't certain with my value. So I worked through this little packet, and this is my coach, Paul Sanford, Tom Ferry, and in this little video, he talks about some of the things that he's doing with us, and he calls it our spectrum of services. A lot of this stuff is stuff that, like, I listen to it out here. I know that you can hear me talking in here, but I also hear you talking. You guys are doing this all the time. You're working these things out. What we haven't done is productize it and create a spectrum of services. So buy before you sell. How would you buy before you sell?
How?
Yeah. Somebody goes, I want to buy, but I don't want to sell my house yet. What would you do?
Well, I would ask them if they had any, if they could
Yeah,
financially, if
right.
they could qualify,
And then
if they had money for a down payment without
payment.
selling their house.
right? You start to work out the financials, and you get them in touch with the loan officer, right?
Yeah.
Boom, right? That guy right there. So I'm going to go, great, I have a buy before you sell program. So you're going to speak with my loan officer. He might be able to put you into, let's just say, the loan that I love the most right now is what we call the DSCR, debt service coverage ratio loan. You got 20% down and the numbers work, you can buy. So they can buy before they sell. So they buy, they move in, they're happy, they take all their junk out of that house. Who's the best seller? The one that already broke up with that house and they're gone. The knickknacks are gone, you can stage it, open up your smart seller program, sell the hell out of that house. So buy before you sell. We're doing it already, we just haven't given it a name. Equity Boost Program. What's the Equity Boost Program?
I don't know what you're referring to.
203K loan. How do you make instant equity? Is you go through, you buy the crap house, you take out a renovation loan, right? You renovate it and you create instant equity by going through that process, and you take the entrepreneurial profit instead of giving it to a flipper. Sounds great, right? Ka-pink. Risk reduction program. I have a relationship with an expediter, and for a separate fee, my expediter will come during the home inspection, walk that property, see if there's any overt risks to title or COs or defective properties, come up with a plan and a cost to cure them if they're there. Sounds great, right? Rate reduction program. Just a buy a seller concession for rate reduction. It's crazy, but if you do the math, sometimes instead of would you be open to talking about how crazy as it sounds, I can get you to pay full price for a home, but it'd be cheaper for you in the long run? People are like, what? All of a sudden, all that is it's a seller concession to buy rate down. And then off-market home discovery program. It's the same shit we're doing, it's just writing letters to sellers. Hi, I have a buyer. People are doing them all day. People are doing 40 of them in a day. But we took these things and we productized them and we made them, we established value. And then in order to get to these programs, you have to create a relationship with me in order to exercise those. That's all we really did. There's a link up here when I send these slides out. We'll take you right to this. It's 20 minutes on YouTube. Definitely worth the watch. But he's going to take you through all that stuff. And it's all included in this bad boy as well. So we'll pass those around. Going to jump into, I rarely bring in people that have their hand in your pocket. But Homes.com did a presentation for the managers meeting. I like it. There was a lot of good stuff in there that I thought was smart, especially now. So Homes.com uses what they call your listing, your lead model. So they don't really sell buyer leads. What they do is drive traffic to their website, and then they position agents on our listings or as neighborhood experts. So if I have gotten the call, you were in my office one day, I thought it was spam. So she comes in, I answer it on speakerphone. I was like, you're getting a call from Homes.com. And I was like, Brent. And Danuta goes, that was a lead, bro. I was like, oh shit, I didn't even realize, right? But they come directly to me. I wasn't even paying for it. But big part. So Homes.com is owned by CoStar Group, which is like LoopNet, Buy, Biz, Sell. They're the biggest in the country. They're fantastic. So they're spending $1 billion on this marketing campaign to drive traffic to their website. Whoop! You know the rule. You got to answer on speakerphone. Anyway, so they're driving traffic down to their site. They're murdering it. They are spending a ton of money to do that. 156 million home buyers. If you haven't looked yourself up on it, the agent page is spectacular. They do a beautiful job. I use it all the time. We've used it before. I've sent you with it on your listing presentations because it's beautiful, especially for folks that have a really significant career. It really rolls it up in a nice way.
Do you use the free version or the pro?
I have the free version right now, so they give a lot away for free. I gotta say, as we all know, like the retargeting ads, you click on Walmart, right, and it follows you around the internet. So there's a couple of neat features. So they definitely do retargeting ads. So like once somebody comes and clicks on your listing, if you're a member with them, it'll follow them around for sure. Then even if like a buyer talks to you on your listing, you can send them an invite to connect. Now all of a sudden, all of Homes.com comes branded to you. No matter what listing they're looking at, it's your face. It's indistinguishable to them who really has that listing. Everything loops back to the listing agent, which I love, because I'm making a bold prediction here, but one of the unintended changes of this whole NAR settlement is some misinformed buyers will come direct to the listing agent. They will come direct to the listing agent. So get strong on your listing presentation. Tell them why you're full service, full fee agents and that you cooperate, but you better make sure that you're not just giving it away if that direct buyer comes to you. You can't give it away. I think for us that Annette's gonna make more money. Joanne's gonna make more money. Beth will, heavy listing agents, when they control that conversation, will make more money. Because there will be some buyers that come. I'm like a 60% direct deal guy. That's crazy, right? But that's just the nature of my market, that those folks are coming from far away. I'm charismatic. I let them in, right? We do a little dance. Well, tell me about yourself. I'm dressing them down the whole time. They have no idea. But it will make your listing, it will make, I think it will increase your odds of doing direct deals for heavy listing agents.
So when somebody comes direct, you have to give them the agency disclosure, letting them know that you're working for the seller. At that point, are you doing a buyer broker also?
No, you can't do a buyer broker on that.
You can't. So there will be some sort of agreement. There's going to be And, cause you still have to have an agreement between the buyer,
Right.
like this, that's what I'm saying, this is all, shit's all shaken out, man. Sorry, I get intense. We don't know exactly how this is gonna look. But I would bet that that agreement's gonna basically, did you ever read the MLS office exclusive disclosure from MLS? It is the most onerous document. People go like, what is this, right? They're like, the benefits of the MLS, and you don't want to sign this form, and like, it's like, if you don't have good rapport with your people and they start reading that document, like they don't want to sign it. It's really weird. I would assume that that unrepresented buyer agreement will have some bold words and some very crazy language in it. So I don't know how that's all going to shake out, but big part. So for this is the listing views for a member listing, somebody who's paying. He's got 12 days on the market, 163,000 views. This guy over here is not a paying member. His listing was on the site for 12 days. He had 4,296 views. So listing agents, would you be open to, like, why do you charge more? Have we talked about the amount of traffic that I can drive to your listing? Has anybody talked to you about that? Probably not, right? So if I could show you how I can do, this is like 1,000%. If I can get 1,000 times the eyes on your property than your competitor would, is that something you'd be interested in talking about? See what I'm saying?
I have to say, just saying that I'm with Douglas Elliman, everyone knows I'm driving more.
It does. Like I would say, nobody ever gave a
Anyone
crap
who's putting
about.
their house up for sale,
Yeah.
who cares?
They do, right?
They do.
Like, yeah.
Absolutely.
I had a guy kick in my open house door. He was, I'm pretty sure he had mental issues, but anyway, he flips the front door open and he goes, "Douglas, I recognize your picture," and he slammed the door. I was like, "Oh, it dodged that," but like he thought I was Douglas Elliman. Like, okay, I'll take it. I'll take it, right? Anyway, so how do they? There's also this beautiful agent directory, and so they don't sell zip codes at home.com. You will show up in any area where you've had a past sale, right? So thank you to all of you, Susan, who have put me on the selling side for your short sales in like weird markets. I'm gonna show up in like New Hyde Park. I don't know what the hell it is. I might once, just because I had one sale there, right? But people who pay will show up at the top. What I do like is very quickly it shows your face, then also how many sales you've had and how many sales in that particular area you have. So for my zone people who are zoning and owning it, this really helps with your saturation in a particular market. I did check myself yesterday. I'm on page 2. I have no shot. I'm not paying. I have no shot.
She'd have her own book.
What's that?
Joanne.
I know, exactly. So yeah, here's your retarget. Yeah, your retargeted ads. So you will start to show up all over the place. They are very good. Like I clicked on here the other day. They are everywhere. Like I'm surprised I didn't wake up with a Homes.com tattoo on my neck. Like they are all over me. So generally I don't let folks in, but there is a discount running for Douglas Elliman through the end of the month. So I was going to push her to the end of June, but June 11th she's going to come in. Her presentation is spectacular. I will say for very, very heavy listing agents, it can get a little pricey. For our mid-tier agents, it's a very, very good value. It's a very, very, even like.
Is that why the prices were different when me and you were looking at
That is
on sale?
correct. So it goes based off of how many sales you've had and how many different markets, because you'll show
Oh, no
you.
wonder why it was
Insanity.
what you wanted me to spend.
Well, because when I look up Beth.low, like your map is you're all over the map. So you're going to show up all over Long Island. So that is one piece. So there is a point there for some folks. It is a fairly big investment. Good point though was, she said these folks are down the funnel and have a different level of intentionality to their search, right? So, she's right. I wrote a note to myself. Cut out one hometown shopper cover and add homes.com. That was my strategy. It was like, move that money. I'm going to do both because no one's going to kick open my open house and call me Douglas unless I'm showing up in good places. It also works. I was standing in line at a home open house. Kill yourself. But everybody was eyeballing me because they saw me on the paper. They were like, I know you from somewhere. It was great. So it works. But she's going to be here and go through all that stuff, and she can price you on the spot. And there's a little discount. minimum commitment is 6 months, so not that bad. So if you have it in your budget, I would do it. I'm gonna make some moves on this.
What type of price did she give you, Beth?
Almost $1,000, I think. It was like
Okay.
9 something.
Mine was $685
A month?
a month.
And you, the second page, right?
If I want to get up to the front, like I know if I get to the front, I'll get like I'm like so we go. Who knows what the acronym ZONE stands for? Zone. Any?
No what? Say it
I'm gonna
again,
quit
Josh.
right on video. All right, zone. Zero in on your target market. Own the mind share. Nurture your database. Earn the heart share of your community. That's what like the system I have. So owning the market share. I know I'm owning the mind share of my market. I'm doing it the hard way and the costly way through a lot of print, but print, signs in the ground.
You gotta do it all.
You gotta do it all. So what I don't have is bottom of the funnel intentionality.
Isn't that part of believing in yourself? Do it all. You're gonna pay for anything. Pay for yourself.
If people ask me, Josh, what's the best lead generation source? I go, they all of them. Yeah, but really, I would say pick 3. That's what I say. Pick 3 and just focus on 3 and get really good. Don't change and go all over the place. It's not worth it. Mortgage interest rates. Justin, did you want to talk a little bit about interest rates and what's happening in the marketplace?
Yeah, rates are pretty stable. They're hovering around 7%.
Okay.
We got some relief this week, but it's really kind of the same pitch that we've been saying to clients for the last few months, kind of buy now, refi later.
Mm-hmm.
Prices aren't coming down, and it's just, it's more reinforcing that with other people who are saying that. I posted something on Instagram the other day with Dave Ramsey saying that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the most conservative minds are saying that, so
Sure.
it's time for people to start believing it.
Yeah. I got asked that the other day at the open house. I go, when are prices going to go down? I'm like, never.
Never,
They're not.
never, that's
Like
it.
I said, barring global economic meltdown, they're not. They're just going up. I go, unless we create more island, they're not going to go down because we do one thing. Like we're definitely jamming more people into a finite space, so that will just drive up the cost and down the average size of a property. That's really all we're going to do. So if you don't follow at nar.realtor on Instagram, you should. These instant reactions are gold. People really like these parts. And it tells us where, gives us a good overview of where rates are trending, gives you some good sound bites for your monthly newsletter in the market part. Steal it, make yourself sound smart. Kabing! Bedlow, Babylon Village Pride, June 2nd, right?
Yes.
Tell time again, is it 1?
I think the parade starts at 3, which
Okay.
yes, you have up there.
All
So
right.
Yeah.
we'll need to, like last year, I know I set up I set up the tent in the morning with Tiff, and other people had to help us because
Yes.
I couldn't do it
Okay.
on my own.
Yeah.
And then we'll need people to be at the parade. Last year, we made water bottles with the Douglas Elliman Pride logo on it. They were really cute and they were a big hit.
Yep.
So anyone who wants to be involved, just please reach out to me and let me know, and
Yep.
we'll figure it out from there.
I think that place was mobbed.
It was such a happy day. Everyone was happy.
Everybody had a good
It
time.
makes you proud to live and work in Babylon.
I agree.
It's
So,
become pretty big in Babylon.
yeah, I think what we did, that's where the Frisbees, I think, came from, was the Pride Parade. So every year we improve on it. I think we should do that again, but go to the sticker app. Like if you're gonna go buy 100, 200 Frisbees or whatever, go to mystickerapp.com, buy the vinyl stickers underneath with your business card and your QR code stuck to the underside of the Frisbee because it will last and live there for a really long time. I think that's a smart move. You will get face to face with, it was jam packed. It was like standing room only. So jump in there. I think that one is a smart move. No? What? All right. I don't know.
Stop the video? No.
No, I don't want to stop the video. No. I don't want to stop. Oh man, I was just getting into it. All right. So that's a shame.
There it is.
Oh, look, what?
Let me see.
They put it on Netflix.
You could
Yeah.
you could watch Bon Jovi. Did you watch the roast?
So funny.
That
So
was
funny.
hilarious.
Oh my god.
I didn't even finish
That
that.
comedian is such a
The
piss.
female?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was coming up with such great one-liners. I was
No,
like,
right-
oh my god, she has
Right
a
there,
sense of
let's shoot him in the face.
She
What's
was
it
like
called?
Tom,
The roast?
Tom Brady's,
Yeah.
That was brutal.
she was like Tom Brady. He
I
got
haven't
7
seen
rings.
it.
Oh, I mean 8, because the one she gave back to you.
That was brutal. I was like, ooh.
with his wife, right?
And she was so funny.
Are we going? All right. If it doesn't work, then we're just going to end.
It's coming.
Aw,
Ah, that's a shame. All right. So I'll send this. What's that?
It's coming.
it's going so well.
It was going so well. Oh man, it was just. It was like, wrap it up, Josh. Wrap it up. All right. Ah, poop. All right. So I'll just like talk it through, and then I'm gonna put this really quick Tom Ferry video on at the very end. I got introduced to a little framework the other day in my coaching circle, and I call it the dream framework. So I'm like, how are we? And I ask my coach all the time, like, what's the best advice I could give my folks, and something that I can wrap my head around. So I have for East Islip folks, I have a lot of real estate crushes, and I do have one like mentor down south, and I said, what are you doing to stay inside your team's mindset and keeping them moving? So he said, he posted up, he calls it the dream framework. And he goes, I found the dream framework a number of years ago, and that seems to really work. I'm a fan of acronyms because I was in the military. So what does dream really stand for? So he said, if you follow these 5 pieces, you'll succeed and have mental stability. So one, it was the D in dream stands for discipline. And I was like, what does that really mean for you? Because to me, discipline meant like doing hard stuff. And he said, no, because after motivation fades, discipline bridges the gap between the excitement of starting and the results of finishing. So discipline is about that little gap in between. So the folks, we all know what to do as realtors, right? There's only 3 ways that we can make business. We network, we prospect, we market. We all want to take training activities. We want to go to the nicest seminars, but we don't really want to do the work, right? So why do only 10% of people make 90% of the money? It's because only 10% of people do the work and are disciplined to stay in that chasm between the excitement of starting and when the results actually come. So routine. I love my dad, but the word I hated when I was a kid was routine. And I have ADD, so routine is just opposite of what I want to do in my life. My dad beat it into my head, but he was 100% right. So I say routine, consistent efforts in the revenue generating activities, prospecting, networking, marketing, in that order. Prospecting, networking, marketing. We market last. Prospect first, network second, we market last. If you show up at the same place at the same time with the same energy and make it routine, over the long term, it just becomes a part of who you are. My morning exercise routine is not hard anymore. It's just part of who I am. Education, the other part, is continuous learning models are going to outlast everything else, and you can only attract customers as good as you. So I heard somebody complain, I have all shitty customers, and I said, get better. Get better. So if your customers suck, it's kind of a reflection of your commitment to your own education and skill set. And then action. The universe rewards productivity, not creativity. And productivity and activity are very different. You'll see me sometimes when I get stressed out, I'm super active and I'm not doing shit. So I have to like pull myself back in, like, Josh looks super busy. I am busy doing nothing. So action in the right spots over time. And remember, showing up, right? Like I've been working a lot with Chrissy Bogue about her conversations, because dials, conversations, and appointments are the 3 metrics that tell us whether we're fooling ourselves or we're really committed to our business. And so as we started tracking it and we got to a right daily target for her, in the last week, she did more calls in 5 days. Well, she talked to more human beings in 5 days than she had in 2 months prior. And talking to human beings who own or want to own real estate is the only way that we stay alive. So a little bit of action over a long period of time can make you a ton of money. And then the other part is mental models. So the most important tool we have, Brian Jetta says, the most valuable real estate in the world is this little space between your ears. And he's 100% right. Danuta watched me melt into my chair yesterday. I was fluttering on a panic attack. Like, she's like, I'm gonna get you some water. Like, I look like shit because I was in my head. And what I just stood up and like took a walk for a second, and I lived in the same world, a minute apart. In one of them, I was gonna have a panic attack. One of them, I had taken action and got right back onto the right track. The world didn't shift, just my mind did. So get into the biggest thing, like I said, why I love working here at Douglas Elliman is for the mental inputs. So monitor your mental inputs, your mental outputs, and your environment. Your brain doesn't distinguish between sarcasm and reality. If I go, this is a nightmare, it is a nightmare, right? If the world sucks if you say so. I'm going to have a panic attack because I said so. So manage.
It's a decision.
100%, it is all a decision. So manage your mindset and in your circles. Here's a great one that changed my mind. Anybody follow Cody Sanchez? You need to. Anyway, so she said it has been proven. Harvard did a study on it. If you sit next to a top performer, you will get 15% better just by being in their presence. I heard it last night from these two winners right here. Beth goes, I got a listing at blah, blah, blah. Danuta goes, I have a buyer for blah, blah, blah. She goes, when can I get in? Beth goes, tomorrow. She goes, great. Shocker.
I didn't know he's listening.
Yeah, I hear it all. I hear you talking
That was
about
the easiest I've ever set up an appointment in my entire career.
But you see what I'm saying? Like that can't happen if you're in your own freaking hole or bitching behind the wheel of your car. You got to be around winners, right? And you'd be surprised. Like, how did you get the life that you did? I manage the people that I spend my time with, right? And so Oprah Winfrey, success is preparation meeting opportunity. She had a listing, she had a buyer. They were prepared, they created opportunity by being next to each other. So spend more time with the people that are winning and you will win. You get 15% better being next to a winner. The opposite side of the hand is you get 30% worse by being next to a loser. So manage your circle. All right, that's it. I'll put Tom Ferry on.
Really quick, I heard like a one-line script that changed my mindset, and if it helps anybody, that's great. Like, there was an investor or team leader that was calling like non-owner occupied because they were renting them, and instead of saying, you know, I see that you have a renter, are you ever interested in selling? He said, you know, my name is Luna Bond from Douglas Elliman. I see you have this property, just want to know if you're interested in buying any more. Like, that was so different because you're not asking for the business and they don't hang up, and then they'll either say, well, what do you have, right? Or they'll say, no, I hate this, they haven't paid in 3 months, they haven't paid in whatever. So that kind of switched my mindset for anybody, if that helps anybody. Yeah, it didn't make me uncomfortable about calling.
Right.
Because their curiosity
Yeah,
sells. They're like, well, what do you have? Yeah.
Right.
That's a good line.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's right.
Sure.
Right? What did you
And when
say?
you converse on their level, it's just easier.
Yeah, and they don't expect that. They're like, wait, what? I hate
What?
that.
What?
They haven't paid in 3 months. What are we talking about?
Absolutely, right?
I just did talk to someone who said that.
Right?
Yeah, I hate
Yeah.
New York.
Yes.
Anybody have a deal, need a deal? Anybody take a new listing that they need a buyer for? Sharon Mitchell, go ahead.
$2 million. It's up there.
Who you got?
Really spectacular. Really spectacular here in Babylon, in Argyle. So I just getting the pictures together, trying to put the whole thing together. And
What
run
is
out
it?
and buy
On the
some
lake
land.
or,
I'm sorry?
on the lake or?
It's not on the lake, but it's 6 bedrooms, 5 baths.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty
Which street
spectacular.
is it on?
What size property?
Only 100 by 100.
When was it built? Recent?
Oh, brand new.
Just now,
No.
brand
Oh, it's
spanking.
brand new.
Doesn't even have CO yet, but it's
Oh,
out on
is
the
this your
market, they're
husband?
just finalizing everything, getting it all.
What street, which one property?
It's
did
on
you buy?
Montrose,
Oh, I know where
Oh,
it is.
right.
Yeah. it's the new one there. So, he took him 3 years to do it, you know, he's into it big. It's beautiful inside, I mean, he's got it completely staged. It's a Southampton builder who came to Babylon
Yeah.
So it's.
Spectacular, everything
but
is huge.
It'll be ready to show like in a week.
Right.
So,
Are you brokers
It's a
opening?
lot. I'm
Are
sorry?
you gonna do brokers
Oh,
opening?
yeah,
Perfect.
we're just waiting to get everything all together so we can do it right.
Yeah, I have a listing, 20 Springwood Drive. It's a condo in North Babylon, 370,000. And it's pretty spacious for a one-bedroom condo. So that's what happened. You know somebody, please let me know.
Sounds good. Anybody else got anything new coming to market?
Bay Shore on Sunset, split level, probably mid-sixes, and another West Bay Shore, in Southwood Estates, 5-bed, 3.5 baths, that's probably gonna be that one too. Beautiful backyard, pool, an acre of property, it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Property.
Okay, anyone else?
I mean, I could speak on Annette's.
Yeah, please.
Right after this, I'm going to a photo shoot, on Locust in Bohemia, it's a condo, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. Because I'm not Annette, I don't know all the details,
Okay.
but I'll probably have it listed by end of the week, so.
Okay.
Anyone looking for a condo
How much?
in Bohemia? I don't know what Annette told them.
I am in process of listing a house in a gated community in St. James.
Come on.
I am in process of, oh, hello, everybody. Thanks a lot. In process of listing in St. James, a gated community, the Hamlet Estates. That will be 5 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, beautiful, 3-car garage. The taxes that are 45, the price will be 1.899. Totally renovated, outside, inside, beautiful
He
community.
does do some nice stuff. Yeah, that guy does a nice
I
build.
have another house that's, it's not gonna be listed until next week, I believe, but it's here in Babylon. It's